Welcome to the Bald Brad Show. Our lead story of the day is regarding all the pushback that Kevin McCarthy and Tucker Carlson are receiving for releasing the January 6th footage, of which completely destroys the Democrat Party and the progressive left's narrative. Before we jump into everything, make sure you head over to our brand new website, baldbrad.com, which is a one-stop shop for y'all. Link is in the description. You can catch our podcast there. You can watch our YouTube videos, read our blog posts. We got it all for you. And if you didn't hear the big reveal over the weekend, we also got a book launching March 13th on Amazon as well as Barnes & Noble's titled Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America. Folks, this book completely obliterates and destroys the progressive left and the Democrat Party's ideology, because it is their ideology that is going to destroy this country from the inside out, much in the same way of how the Greeks sent in the Trojan horse during the Trojan War to destroy Troy from the inside out. The progressive left's ideology is going to do the same thing with the United States unless we recognize it and equip ourselves with the information we need to dismantle and destroy their narrative, their ideology, and the book does just that. If you love Ben Shapiro, Michael Knowles, Andrew Klavan, Matt Walsh, the guys from the Daily Wire, if you love Charlie Kirk, Sean Hannity, Tucker Carlson, all the big conservatives, Republicans, you're going to love this book, folks. It's a must read. You could buy the ebook now and pre-order a paperback and hardcover version as well by heading over to Barnes & Noble's or Amazon or clicking the link on our website. Make sure you pre-order yourself a book today. Again, it releases March 13th. And if that wasn't enough, we also got a store here for y'all. We got merch. If you go again to our store on baldbrad.com, you can get yourself a t-shirt right now. These shirts are awesome. They're awesome quality, and they look really sick, folks. We got our own image. We got our own setup. We got mugs. We got hats. We got stickers. We got hoodies. We got it all, folks. Head over to baldbrad.com if you haven't already. Get yourself the book. Get yourself some merchandise, some swagger, and look good and look like an American patriot, because let's be honest, folks, Bald Brad Show viewers are American patriots, and we uphold the values of this great nation. Again, head over to baldbrad.com or get yourself a copy at Amazon or Barnes & Noble's. Your help and support would be greatly appreciated. And with that being said, our first segment of the day, again, is Kevin McCarthy and Tucker Carlson receiving mega pushback from the Democrat Party, from Republicans themselves, which we'll get to a little bit later. And here you have footage of Kevin McCarthy pushing back on a reporter that's asking him about the January 6th footage. Let's go ahead and roll it.
Capitol Police Chief and the Senate Republican leader both raised concerns about the footage that you gave to Tucker Carlson, the way he portrayed it. He portrayed it as a mostly peaceful day. Do you have concerns with that portrayal?
You know, you asked the same question yesterday, and let me walk you back through that. The Capitol Police Chief, we went to them and asked, is there any clips in the process of where you see, tell us any warnings? He only had one, and we cleared it up. Lo and behold, Swalwell had already put that clip out on the internet for the last year and a half. I'm not sure if you asked, based upon any of those, about what you did with CNN. When CNN told where the leaders were taken, a secret place where they told us we couldn't even tell people. I know, and I'm answering your question. You can ask whatever question you want, but I have the right to answer your question.
Mr. Speaker.
I'm answering his question, thank you. When CNN told the American public that we were at Fort McNair, I don't know if we can go back there. I don't think that's even changed. But you have now told your network, the entire world, where we go. I didn't hear one question from your network either when you would know when subpoenas were released before anybody else. I didn't know that your network got upset when you sat in Statuary Hall, when nobody else networks got anything. And I'm not sure your network got upset either when you had the Speaker of the House daughter do a documentary filming where we are in a secure place, walking through this when people weren't supposed to know. So now you're upset that we allowed somebody else just to have transparency. Now you are the Capitol Police was able to see it, and you know what the Capitol Police told us too is that January 6th committee never asked them. So I thank you for your question.
Damn, Kevin McCarthy, man, just completely destroyed that dude. I mean, that guy's career is over. But again, when it fits their narrative, they're more than happy to expose and put whatever stuff they want out there, regardless if it hurts somebody or it doesn't. And then when it goes against their narrative, then they're going to pounce and then they're going to attack. And so again, Tucker Carlson comes out with this footage of January 6th that completely shellacks the narrative of the Democrat Party and the January 6th committee. And so he comes out with this, and now he's getting pushback from everybody on it, just as you saw Kevin McCarthy was. And so here's Tucker Carlson appearing on Glenn Beck, The Blaze's show, and here's what he has to say about the January 6th footage of which he released.
You called the January 6th committee members liars. Besides suggestions that, Sitnik was murdered, not even suggestions, but claiming that. Do you make the case that they're liars? They didn't just, fib a bit and eat around the corners. That these are full-fledged liars.
Well, that was the stunning part to me. I've been in Washington my whole life, and my dad worked for the government, so I had a kind of root-level trust in government, or not trust in government, but like the whole thing can't be fraudulent because I know the people who work there. My dad was one of them. Like, this is, I'm very much from that world. I guess that's what I'm saying. So my default setting is not they're lying about everything. I've never assumed that. And so I was shocked to learn that they were lying intentionally. And the way that we know that, we have a very specific way of knowing that, which is when January 6th committee researchers looked at video, they bookmarked it. They left an electronic mark.
Hold on to that just for one moment, folks. We're going to continue here, but hold on to what he's saying there, that there's an electronic bookmark, because what we're seeing now is the January 6th committee is scrambling. They don't know what to do because they weren't expecting all this footage to come out. And wait till we get to the blame game, folks, right after this segment. Let's let Tucker Carlson finish here.
On the video they watched. So we know what they watched, and then we watched it. And so there is video of Chansley, of Ray Epps, and of Brian Sicknick that we know they watched that was not included in the report, was never mentioned in the hearings, a year and a half, 1,000 witnesses, 850-page report. And this video, which overturns the story they were telling, proves it was a lie, they saw but hid. So, I'm always hesitant to go to motive because who understands people's motives? You can only really guess about them. But in this specific case, we know that they lied. And that just blew my mind. I mean, some of these guys, if Adam Schiff lies, I think Adam Schiff, there are spiritual forces surrounding Adam Schiff.
By the way, Tucker Carlson doesn't think, he's not the only person that thinks this about Adam Schiff. He's a Democrat of California, my home state. I apologize that we keep producing crazy people like Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, Kamala Harris, and others. But he's not the only person that said that Adam Schiff is just a legitimately evil dude. I've heard a lot of people in Congress, both on the Democrat side of the aisle and Republican side of the aisle, said this guy is like pure evil. So it's funny that Tucker Carlson's saying this because I've heard this as well, and I've read it in books. So I would imagine there is some truth to the fact, and just listening to Adam Schiff and the sketchy type of swampy dude that he is, I 100% believe it.
I think he is a force of darkness, and I mean that. But is Bennie Thompson evil? Like, I have trouble believing. I've known Liz Cheney for 25 years. Is Liz Cheney actually a liar? I just always assume she just disagrees on the.
She's a liar now, Tucker. You think you know somebody, and then that comes out. Look, she blatantly lied. She is a liar, and I hope that he talks about this.
Issues with me. No, it turns out Liz Cheney is actually affirmatively a liar. She knew information. She withheld it because it challenged the lie that she was telling to the public. And that just completely, call me naive. I guess I'm sure everyone listening is like, how stupid are you? Well, I guess kind of stupid because I was blown away by that.
And look, if you know somebody for 25 years and they pull a stunt like that, of course you're going to be shocked. Of course it's going to be like, whoa, what's going on? So get this. You have all this footage that comes out, and not even all of it is coming out yet. You have 40,000 hours of footage, and the January 6th committee didn't release any of it. They released the same clips over and over again, which we said in yesterday's episode was only not even a fraction of a percent, meaning that we were not able to see 99.9% of the footage that came out. Luckily, we have Tucker Carlson now that has hands on this stuff and go, hey, here's what really took place. You make the decision, but this is what happened here. So now the January 6th committee is losing their ish because it basically exposed them for the lies and the narrative that they pushed. So former House January 6th committee chairman Bennie Thompson claimed on Wednesday, after all this hubbub took place with everybody going after Tucker Carlson, he and other members of the January 6th committee said that they had not had access to all of the footage of the day's events, saying that a team of employees had been responsible for going through the video. Let that sink in. So now it's the blame game, you guys. We see this so typical from the Democrat Party. We see it from the head of the Democrat Party itself, Joe Biden. He hasn't done anything wrong in 2 years. Everything that he's done, from pulling out of Afghanistan to dealing with the economy to dealing with Russia and Ukraine, everything he's put his hands on he's done nothing but good here. So now we have the blame game. Now they're going to blame a team of employees. So CNN political reporter shared Thompson's comments in a series of tweets saying that Thompson, former chair of January 6th committee, said lawmakers were never given the type of access to the footage last Congress. Can you let that sink in? Let that sink in. They have a whole committee. They have this whole narrative that they're pushing, this whole agenda. And now they're coming going, well, we actually didn't watch all of it. We only watched what our employees put because they don't have any bias. So, quote, it's strictly a new policy that the speaker itself, the new speaker, meaning Kevin McCarthy, has put in place. Thompson said he didn't think any of the January 6 members themselves have ever had access to the footage. They let only staff view it. I'm actually not aware of any member of the committee who had access, who had a team of employees who kind of went through the video. Isn't that just lovely? Isn't that just lovely? You can't make this up. They're all idiots. 40,000 hours, and then you have a team that looks at it, and you can't have the functionality of your brain to go and rationale of, well, man, you're only showing us, I don't know, maybe an hour's worth of footage if we put it all together out of 40,000 hours. Really? You can't go, man, that's odd. That's a weird thing. Thompson's claim comes after Fox News host Tucker Carlson, who was given access to 40,000 hours of footage, as we mentioned, from January 6th after Kevin McCarthy took the gavel, aired several clips that appeared to show that several key Democratic talking points have been and had been presented necessarily out of context. Or at least just heck without context either. So among them was a clip of Senator Josh Hawley, representative of Montana, who had been labeled pro-insurrection by far left because he raised a fist in support of peaceful protesters prior to entering the Capitol that day. And by the way, as we said yesterday, they had a permit to be there on a specific portion of the Capitol. Not everywhere, but a specific portion. Running toward an exit to evacuate the building. The clip shared by the committee only showed Hawley and was used to suggest that he was running in fear of the people he had supported just hours earlier. But when footage aired on Carlson's show, it suggested that Hawley was not the only one running from the building at that point. He was simply the last in a long line of senators from both parties who were being escorted from the building to a safe location. Quote, the actual videotapes themselves show that Hawley was one of many lawmakers being ushered out of the building by Capitol police officers. And in fact, Hawley was at the back of the pack. The coward tape was a lie, Carlson remarked. So they strategically only showed Hawley. They didn't show everybody else. That's negligence, you guys. That is negligence. They knew exactly what they were doing. Thompson, when asked about the specific clip, doubled down. I stand by the tape, he says. But then when he's asked to double down, he's going to blame, oh, well, it's just the employees. It's the lower level staff that was looking through the footage. So in addition to the employees, Thompson claimed were responsible for handling the video footage itself. The January 6th committee hired former ABC News president James Goldstone to produce the affair affair for maximum impact. So they hired somebody from Hollywood to package this stuff so it could push a certain narrative and have the maximum impact possible. A move which also could have impacted which clips were shown to the public and which ended up on the cutting room floor. So it's basically a movie, folks. And what's amazing about this, and something I left out of yesterday's episode, was the aspect of all the shaky cams that you see, because Hollywood directors will utilize a shaky cam rather than a steady cam in scenes that they want to produce basically chaos, or having an actor portrayed as not having order or not having control over a situation. Whereas if somebody does a steady cam in Hollywood, a lot of times that means that there's calm, there's order taking place, but also the actor itself, the main character, has a lot of internal order within themselves as well. So again, this is all Hollywood that the Democrat Party was pushing here. Quote, the plan is to present the case in 6 tight thematic episodes that will unfold in prime time and during the day, running 90 to 150 minutes. The idea is to take them as compelling as the marathon Watergate hearings, some of which stretched for hours, but tailored for the streaming era and a media world fueled by viral moments, meaning cutting it up, showing what they just want you to see so that you push this very specific narrative. Now, if that wasn't enough, not only do you have Democrats scrambling, not only do you have the people behind the scenes of the January 6th committee scrambling, but you also had Republicans going after Tucker Carlson as well. So here's Tucker Carlson on his own show exposing and saying what Democrats had to say about him.
Instead, ooh, how dare you show this? What is clearly exculpatory evidence. And again, it's not just Chuck Schumer, it's Republican senators. Kevin Cramer, Mike Rounds, Chuck Grassley, John Thune, Lindsey Graham, of course, Congressman Dan Crenshaw, needless to say, Kelly Armstrong, all went after us. We're not whining about that. We don't care, actually, but it just tells you everything about the way things actually work. They're not loyal to their voters. They're loyal to each other. And they're willing to lie, really lie, and crush people. Mitch McConnell, Tom Tillis, and BLM superfan Mitt Romney, all weak men, and like all weak men, vicious men, were especially angry. Watch.
It was a mistake, in my view, for Fox News to depict this in a way that's completely at variance with what our chief law enforcement official here at the Capitol thinks.
I think it's bull. When you see police barricades breached, when you see police officers assaulted, all of that, or you had to be in close proximity to it. If you were just a tourist, you should have probably lined up at the visitor center and came in on an orderly basis. So I just don't think it's.
I agree with what he's saying here, but he's also playing into what the Democrats in the January 6th committee published, where the vast majority of what was shown was showing people breaking windows, destroying property, maybe throwing tear gas back at the Capitol police officers. I mean, there was all sorts of stuff that took place. So again, we all are in agreement that those people are idiots. We're all in agreement that those that stormed the Capitol and went inside are idiots, that we don't even want them to be a part of the Republican Party. I agree on that narrative, but that wasn't the narrative that was pushed. They were making it seem like it was everybody there. Oh, there's like 20,000 people in the Capitol. They were trying to take over the government. They were trying to overturn the election and all this other stuff. I mean, you got to give me a break on it. So one part I disagree with, the other part I do agree.
It's helpful.
It's really sad to see Tucker Carlson go off the rails that bad. The American people saw what happened on January 6th. They've seen the people that got injured. They saw the damage to the building. You can't hide the truth by selectively picking a few minutes out of tapes and saying this is what went on. It's so absurd.
That's exactly what the Democrats did. That's exactly what the January 6th committee did. You just heard it from the guy that was the chairman of the committee going, we didn't even look at all the footage. We didn't even have access to it. Our employees did, our teams did, our lower level staff members did, and they're the ones that rifled through it all. And you had Tucker Carlson just say a few seconds before of going, hey, yeah, there's timestamps on all this. We're actually able to see exactly what they looked at and what the employees looked at. So there seems to be some negligence. There seems to be some narrative that was pushed, some sort of agenda at the end of the day, or else why not present all of it and just let the public make the decision? But no, they had an agenda to push. They want to make it seem like all MAGA Republicans are a threat to democracy because they wanted to win the midterms. They wanted to win the election. You know what? It's going to continue to play out unless we sit there and expose everything up until the election. Because who knows what they're going to do next, right? Maybe they'll hand out more ballots. Maybe they'll allow more dead people to vote. Hell, maybe they'll allow illegal aliens to vote. Who knows what's going to happen next? And that's why we got to support shows like this one so that we can get this type of stuff out there, because not everybody watches Fox News. Not everybody sits there and reads through the articles. We got to get stuff out there, and it's all part to you as well as me doing the work, you putting in the effort, supporting, subscribing, hitting that comment button, hitting the live chat, all that stuff, sending your friends and family, all that stuff, supporting the show is really important because, look, you're seeing what the Democrat is. You're seeing what the Democrats are willing to do to this country and destroy it from the inside out, which is why I wrote that book, Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America. Shameless plug. Comes out March 13th, this Monday, folks. So it happens to be my birthday as well. Link is in the description if you want to pre-order that. Folks, we wrote that book because the Democrat Party, the progressive left, and the narrative and the agendas that they're trying to push are going to destroy this country from the inside out unless we expose it. Very similar to what Tucker Carlson's doing. Again, pre-order your book by heading over to Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, or going to baldbrad.com. Get yourself a copy of the book. Hit the book up at the top. It will share a link that will send you directly to Amazon, and that way you can support a fellow American patriot. Also, if you want to hit the join tab below, you can join us and become a patriot yourself and advance the movement of getting conservative thought and ideas out there to new viewers who haven't seen our content or our channel. Well, moving into our second segment of the day, we have Piers Morgan here. And I haven't seen this clip. I saw the first 10 seconds. I'm like, nope, I gotta cover this. So you're gonna get some commentary and a real-time reaction here from this. But it's International Women's Day when this came out. And is it International Women's Month or something like that? Not sure. Well, this is all in the whole idea that people are self-identifying as women when in actuality they're biological men. And there's been some consequences to this, from women getting raped in the school system to men dressing up with fake prosthetics in the classroom, like that wood shop or a metal worker that we saw in the school district. There's women being raped in the prison system by men that are claiming that they're women when in actuality there aren't. I mean, there's a lot of problems that you could pick out from this, but just listen to this back and forth between Piers Morgan, clearly this other leftist, Tommy Lauren's on here. We got it all for you. Hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Let's go ahead and roll it.
Well, joining me now is the author and commentator Angelica Mallet, Talk TV's Esther Krakow, and Fox News contributor Tommy Laren. So, Tommy Laren, let me start with you. Two people in Britain today who've been at the forefront of not saying what a woman is. One is Nicola Sturgeon, the ex-First Minister of Scotland, who lost her job because of this ridiculous farce of a rapist self-identifying. She tweeted today, proud on International Women's Day to visit my old University of Glasgow, and banged on about women's rights. This is the woman who just literally lost her job for allowing a male rapist into a female prison. And Sir Keir Starmer, who's leader of the opposition Labour Party here, was talking about protections for women in Parliament today, and yet he refuses to say what a woman is. Where are we with this? How has it come that leaders of parties in countries like the UK, and we see a lot of it in America as well, just won't say what a woman is?
Well, first of all, I have to apologize to you because all of this wokeness originates here in the United States of America, and then we export it to you in the UK.
Yes, you're to blame.
So we started this really in America. Yes, we are. You know, the wokeness starts here, and then it, of course, moves over, and now you guys have to deal with it. The world has to deal with it. But I say this, I'm proud to celebrate International Women's Day because I know what a woman is. So I would say if you don't know what a woman is, you don't get to celebrate it. You don't get to pretend to be a feminist when it's helpful to you or helpful to your political narrative. You have to be able to define what a woman is. This is all a farce. They are seeking to erase women, and this is the radical rainbow mafia, as I call it. This is not your average LGBT activist. This is the rainbow mafia section of that radical LGBTQ movement that has made women less than, and then has elevated all of this transgenderism and all of this pick your gender, identify as potato. They have hijacked the women's rights movement.
I love that she's talking and kind of separating the two, because there are those that are part of the LGBTQ community that aren't pushing a very the same type of narrative that we see from the progressive left and Democrat Party. And there's even conservatives that are gay. There's conservatives that are lesbian, whatever that may be. But I love the point that she's separating the two, because I've been making a separation even in the education system between these teachers and activist teachers who are sitting there trying to groom your children, trying to give them and at least process them along the path of being trans, or grooming them without the parents knowing. Those aren't teachers. Those are activists in the classroom masquerading as teachers, pushing an agenda on your kids. So I want to separate the two, because look, there's gay teachers out there. There's maybe trans teachers out there, whatever it may be, that aren't trying to push an agenda on your children. They're activists. They have an agenda. They've infiltrated our education system in the same way that the progressive left have infiltrated this country with their ideas. And it's those ideas that are cancerous. Again, I keep bringing up my book, Trojan Horse, but that's what it's all about. Masquerading and coming into our nation within our walls and trying to destroy it from the inside out. And those ideologies are what's going to do it. And it's already been happening.
Feminist movement, and actual feminists should be really pissed off about it.
Well, as a feminist, I am. I recently interviewed Angelica, the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, and I asked him this question, which seems to stump many other leaders. Here's the clip. What is a woman? We know that Nicola Sturgeon can't answer that. We know Keir Starmer can't answer that. You're the British Prime Minister. What is a woman?
Yeah, of course I know what a woman.
I mean, Ketanji Brown Jackson, that was being nominated to the Supreme Court, couldn't answer it either. Her response was, well, I'm not a biologist. So that was her answer. So it seems like a lot of people in high places can't answer a simple question.
An adult human female.
It's not difficult, is it, Angelica? I mean, that is what a woman is.
I mean, I don't know why you're obsessed with defining it. Like, what is a man? Like, why do we need these arbitrary...
A man is a male adult human. I mean, that's it.
Right, okay. I don't know that we need
these are just biological facts, but they're just facts. They're not arguable points, are they?
But I think we have a right to self-identify. And you said
as
you
what?
want to...
As what?
If you would like to be a woman, you can identify as a woman. I don't know why there is such an issue around...
We've literally just seen a male rapist use that scam to get himself put into a female prison where he could attack vulnerable women inside a female prison. when even his ex-wife said it was all a scam.
Which is a terrible, very distressing, isolated incident. And I think it's easy to take that and say that means that no one can identify as a woman.
But
And
it's
that's
not an
that's
isolated
not
incident, though.
But it's
42% of trans-identifying prisoners in prison are in there for sex crimes. There's actually an advantage, evidently, to identifying as a female, because they never identify as male, because somehow male prisons seem less appealing to them. It's really weird. Anyway, but
Is it limitless, this self-identity?
It's not totally limitless.
What's the limit?
When you're talking about International Women's Day, I don't know why we take the conversation around International Women's Day and make it about this.
But if anyone,
there's so many benefits.
Right, but if
to having
anyone,
a day.
according to you, can identify as a woman,
didn't Jill Biden just like award a trans person an award for like Women of the Year or something like that? I mean, didn't Bruce Jenner, now Caitlyn Jenner, win Woman of the Year as a man? I mean, there's a lot of conversation that's evolved around this in terms of you're allowing men to outcompete women. I mean, we're not even talking about sports here, just anything. So now you have another biological male winning another award on International Women's Day being handed down by the First Lady of the President of the United States. But no, we can't have these conversations. You make it a big deal by parading and pushing this whole agenda. So when we bring it up and want to have a conversation about it, going, hey, it's a little bit BS, it's a little bit out there, the fact that you're trying to change your sex of what you can't do. I know people will pretend on the progressive left that you can, which you can't. But, once we start talking about it, then we're all bigots. Well, I don't know why you're making such a big deal over it. Because you made a big deal over it. That's why. And by the way, there's people raping little girls in a public school bathroom because they're identifying as a woman when in actuality they're biological male. And you want them to coexist and share bathrooms and locker rooms and stuff.
anyone can, right?
I don't see a problem with
just literally put the hand up and say I'm a woman.
But it's not an easy thing to do to
yes,
go
it
out
is.
into
Actually,
the world.
it's very easy.
Very easy. You might think it's easy to say.
You want to see how easy it is? I identify as a woman. You can't tell me otherwise. You don't know how I feel. You don't know what's going on internally with me. I was born this way. You don't actually just. I went through a dream last night, and now I'm a trans. So now I'm a woman. I identify as a woman. You can't look at my outside. My outside doesn't represent on what's going on in here in the inside. It's that easy. And then what you can do, because you're a psychopath and you want to play into that whole delusion because you want to rape somebody. I'm not saying that every trans person's like that. That's not what I'm saying. But the situation of what she's bringing about here is that's what the agenda is. So you could sit there and go harm a woman who's actually a woman and you're a biological male masquerading as a woman. That's their agenda because they're crazy. Not all of them. Again, not all of them.
But to decide to do that, to say
what
this
does
is
doing
who,
it involve?
Whatever that person decides, but to
Does
go
it
out
involve
into the
makeup?
world and say, I don't identify as perhaps the sex I
So
was
why
born
can't
as.
I
It's
identify?
not-
Okay, why can't I identify as a black lesbian?
Well, firstly, I mean, it was.
Well, I'm serious. I'm serious. If I can identify as anything without any need to prove I'm actually what that is, why can't I, on International Women's Day, say I'm Piers Morgan, I'm a black lesbian?
I think taking it to a kind of absurd status.
I think
we're
that's
talking
what.
about quite a
With
strong
respect, I think
physical
that
change.
you'd already opened the absurdity door by saying it is limitless. You can do what you like. Anyone can say I'm a woman. So I simply ask you, why can't I?
I mean, this point kind of ridicules trans people to an extent.
Actually, I think what you said ridicules trans people, because actually people who go through the full process of transition, who actually go through what we used to call a sex change, which I don't think you can muck around with original biology, but those who actually go through surgical procedure over a number of years, I've got great respect for that very difficult journey they go on. I have zero respect for people who just wallop their hand up and go, suddenly, I'm a woman and I want all the rights that a woman has and I want to compete, say, in sport. I'm a 6'4" athlete, sprinter, swimmer, whatever, who's competed very mediocrely in male sport. I now want to come in and crush women in swimming pools and in sprinting events and break all their records, perhaps irrevocably, just by saying, I'm a woman. I think that is the absurdity you were talking about. My response was to say, well, if it's limitless, why can't I then say whatever I want to say? And you say immediately, as I knew you would, well, that's ridiculous. But my point is, you were being ridiculous.
Well, that's your opinion. You can think I'm ridiculous, but I don't think you can say, well, it has to.
I don't know why I am, but you're not.
I don't think you have to say it's post-op is the only way that someone's allowed to identify as
The
trans.
original
This is
standard
not
for
us to
the original
decide.
standard for being transgender was being diagnosed with gender dysphoria, which is a legitimate condition. And now it's being, oh, however way you feel. So if you feel on Tuesday you're a woman and on Thursday you're a pizza, that's perfectly valid. But to you, that's ridiculous. And I want to know why that is ridiculous. We should be talking about actual women on International Women's Day. That's not crazy.
I mean, I agree. I think, but your idea of an actual woman...
the chromosomes. It's pretty
Is an adult female. It's not difficult.
The chromosomes are a pretty good indication.
I don't think you have to be biologically female to identify
Then
as a
you are
woman.
wrong, because then I can identify as a fox.
Yeah.
But again, it's...
Exactly right. Thank you. And this is what conservative Republicans have been talking about forever. You can identify as anything you want, and then it trickles down into age. It trickles down into the animal species. I mean, that's why literally on Matt Walsh's show or his film, What is a Woman, you had people say, oh, I identify as a wolf. You have people literally identifying as animals now. This is how insane it's gotten. And by the way, if you turn that down to age, then somebody that's like a 10-year-old can identify as being 21. Now he could drink or she could drink. Or heck, you know, I'm turning 34 soon. Hey, you know, I identify as, let's say 72. I want to start capitalizing on my Social Security. You can't tell me I'm not 62 or 72, however age I want to be. You can't tell me. I want to capitalize on my Social Security. So all these things are just, it's preposterous, and it's all based on your feelings and what's going on up here. And let's be honest, not everything up here is always legitimate. There's a lot of crazy people out there. There's a lot of people that think that certain things are going on when in actuality they aren't, which is what the lovely woman on the right here is saying of, hey, it used to be classified as gender dysphoria. It was an actual condition, and now we're making it seem like it's normal, that it's all nonchalant to have a condition that was very serious back in the day that we wanted to try to progress along in terms of helping those people rather than just lopping off their genitals, giving them hormone enhancers and puberty blockers. But we can't talk like that because, again, we're always called bigots or we're not taken serious, as you just mentioned here with Piers Morgan saying, hey, why don't I just identify as a black lesbian? Oh, well, that's crazy. You can't identify as that. Why not? And then her whole argument gets shellacked and shuts down.
Kind of an absurd point.
How many? Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Angelica. How many genders are there?
2.
There are 2 genders.
Oh.
Wow. So you don't believe in transgenders at all?
Well, I think there are...
Whoa, hang on. Whoa. There are 2 genders?
Well, it's taught in...
Well, you say, well, you've literally just launched this huge defence of transgenderism. Now you've eradicated it.
I think there's...
If there are 2 genders, you mean male and female, right?
There's gender fluidity. I will...
Fluid between what?
Between what?
Between different identities, and we can choose different identities.
You see how difficult this is, though?
But it is difficult, but I think making...
But it's not difficult until you make it difficult. You see, the BBC has done teaching videos to 11 and 12-year-olds where they say there are 100 genders. One of them was astrogender, which is an affinity with the stars and the galaxy. My response to that on the last show I did was to say, well, in that case, I identify as a two-spirit penguin. I was then told I was being ridiculous, but I made the same point. The ridiculousness is the BBC teaching kids there are 100 genders. There aren't. It is absurd. Bring back Tommy Lehran, who I imagine is hyperventilating over there in America. Tommy, I mean, look, I don't see why, if it's limitless, I can't just say I'm Piers Morgan, I'm a black lesbian, because that is where limitless self-identity takes us. It means that male rapists can say they're women and get into female prisons. It means I can say I'm a two-spirit penguin or a black lesbian, and why can't I? Because that is where it takes you.
Well, it certainly does, and I think you just had the perfect argument there. It's impossible to define, and it's impossible to stand up for because it's a mockery of what actual people are. And furthermore, going back to children, when this happens at a young age, when you start trying to convince kids that they don't know what gender they are, or they're born in the wrong body at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, that's child abuse. All right? Gender-affirming care wherein you only tell somebody they can be whatever they want to be regardless of their biology at a young age, that is child abuse. It's happening in the UK, it's happening in the US, and this is making room for groomers to groom young people, to confuse the heck out of them, make them not know what they are so that they can take advantage and exploit them. Now, I want to be very clear here. This is not the mainstream LGBTQ movement. There are a lot of conservatives that even support that movement. This is a radical agenda made by groomers, and they don't want you to call them groomers, which is a perfect example of why they are groomers. This is what we're doing, is to confuse young people, to confuse all people, to make them dumber, make them confused as to what they are. It's a mockery of women's rights. It's a mockery of human rights. And we should no longer be having the discussion.
And you end up with scandals like the Tavistock Clinic here in London, in the UK, where they were basically mutilating children, young kids, teenagers, mutilating their bodies irrevocably. And then it turned out, after it closed, after a scandalous report came out, that 97% of all the patients had other conditions, from autism to depression to other issues.
I think what he's referring to here is a lot of lawsuits came about out of this, which is why I think the UK reversed the policy that he's talking about here of mutilating these children and these people because of the lawsuits. And that's kind of the conversation that's evolved here in the United States of, well, it's not going to get reversed, or it's not really going to maybe ever come to fruition to the point that these progressive lunatics want of castrating children because of the lawsuits and the damage that it could come about, not just on a litigation side, but also obviously on a permanent damage side that you're doing to these children.
Which may have been affecting their ability to think straight about what they wanted to be. And that was, to me, as a father of 4 kids, utterly horrific, just horrific that this was going on. And anyone who tried to raise concerns about this, and journalists did, were immediately branded transphobic. And Esther, this comes back to what we see.
There you go. And we're going to end it there. There is a few more minutes left here, but you see the agenda and you see how hard it is to actually be on the side of that agenda in terms of what the progressive left and the Democrat Party is pushing, of having people identify as whatever the heck they want. And by the way, I've even talked about this at length here on the Bald Brad Show in my later or earlier videos, depending on how you want to look at it. When we first started the show, of what have I experienced in the classroom of people just changing their identity, literally just by going to the bathroom and coming back and there's somebody different. And you have to just know what to call them. You have to respect that, or else you can lose your job. So again, everybody can identify just as they want, and that trickles down to a lot of sorts of things that can sit there and disrupt a society and ultimately cripple society from the inside out. Again, plugging in my book, once again, Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America. It's these narratives, just like you saw on the screen, that are going to destroy this country from the inside out unless we have people that are going to rise up and talk about it and say enough is enough and actually be adults going, you can't just identify as anything you want. There's things called objective truths. Sure, you could say whatever you want about your truth, whatever the hell that means. There's only the truth. Your truth could be something totally wrong. There's objective facts. We can determine who is a male and who is a female. Just because you feel like a female doesn't mean that you are. Just because you feel like a male doesn't mean that you are. Okay, so there you have it, folks. Let me know what you think about this. Head over to baldbrad.com. Buy yourself some shirts. Buy yourself some merch. We got a lot of cool stuff there. A lot of cool logos, folks. Shirts are coming in. A lot of you have messaged me about you ordering them. You got your mugs, your shirts, your hats. A lot of cool stuff. And pre-order that book. It's coming out Monday, folks, March 13th on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. It's going to be a big day. Maybe we'll do a live stream. It is my birthday, so I don't know. I might go out to dinner or something like that. I have no idea, but an early birthday present. Hit that join button. Join us here. Become a patriot. Become a Bald Brad member. And make sure you pre-order that book for a friend or family member that loves to read political commentary and just watch the destruction of the Democrat Party's narrative and the progressive left. Folks, I hope you have a lovely weekend. I look forward to seeing you during this weekend for Supernatural Saturdays and more of the Bald Brad Show on Sunday. Have a great day, folks.